"You're not my mate, but my worst enemy," he shouted, his angry voice booming all over the room as it shook her and sent cold shivers running down her spine. If she had always described her father's voice as being too strict, his way more than her father's. Even with his cold voice, she still managed to courageously look at his voice. His face was looking at her with hatred written all over him, like she was some sort of natural disaster or forbidden disease. The hatred she had always seen in her father's eyes was nothing compared to how scary his eyes looked. Karen was dumbfounded. She wondered what was it that she had done that had made him hated her that much. "Why am I your enemy?" She found herself asking out of the blues. Her body was still shaking with fear, and she wondered where she had the courage to speak up. A pause as the room suddenly went quiet. Karen was curious to know how she ended up as his worst enemy when she hadn't by chance met him or offended him in any way aside from that day. He was the one that had offended her by picking his fiancée over her, his destined mate. She observed his features and noticed that he was battling with keeping his emotion in check. Karen wondered what it was that he wanted to say that was this painful for him to say. From how gravely his face had become, Karen could tell that he was battling with some dark past. "Your father." He finally spoke up in a voice as deep as the ocean and then paused, grinding his teeth together, his jaw clenched as his muscle twitched. Even from his princely robe, Karen could tell that he had a well-muscled body. She imagined how it'd look like and feel, and for some odd reason she found herself craving to run her hands through it. "Your father killed my parents and made me an orphan at a young age," Karen gasped once he had spilled out the reason why she was his enemy. She was batting with believing him in her head. She knew her father to be ruthless, but not to the point of killing his parents. "I doubt that. You know nothing about my father. You must be mistaken," she defended, narrowing her gaze to meet with his as her eye searched for some truth in what he had just voiced out. Alpha Kai scoffed. He walked closer to where she sat, an action which made Karen shifted back, but he kept coming closer till her back rested against a hard suitcase. And then she knew that she couldn't escape him again as she rested her head against the wall, preparing her mind against the worst. Alpha Kai bent his face closer to her. His wolf was tugging at him that he should stop threatening their mate, but he didn't give a damn. After he had rejected her in their pack, his wolf had gone silent on him, blaming him for choosing his fiancée over his mate. Heaven knows that it wasn't his intention at first. In fact, he had been so happy when he had spotted. He had every plan of marking her and taking her to his pack. Not until he discovered that she was his enemy daughter, then he had to reject her, ignoring the several pleas of his wolf. HR can't take a murderer's daughter as his mate. Even though his wolf wasn't pleased with him, he was ready to get through any kind of punishment from his wolf than marking her. Cold revenge runs through his vein, and B wouldn't stop until he had gotten his revenge in its highest peak. Killing her father can't justify the pain he went through. He would make his offspring suffer as much as B did. That was a vow he had made while he was growing up. Seems Daddy didn't tell his little angel about his dirty deed. He smirked and then pulled some lock of hairs that had fallen across his face backward. An action that caught Karen's interest as she became fully concentrated in observing his every features, then musing over his words. She wondered how someone could be this dangerously handsome like he was. She was obsessed with staring at his eyes, and for some moment, she could swear that she saw him looked at her tenderly, just the same way he had done earlier that day at her pack. His savage look was gone, and what was written boldly on his face was a man that was deeply attracted to his mate and couldn't wait to claim her. But suddenly he pulled back, and his face was replaced back with his savage look. Karen wished he could just look at her that way for some time longer. "Bring them in," he commanded, which made Karen wondered who he was bringing in. In a blink of a second, she saw her father confidants being brought inside. They were 2 in number. Alpha Kai commanded them to testify about her father's dirty deed years ago, and they'd affirm that it was true. They even had the guts to lie against her that she was just as vicious as her father when she was being treated as nothing more but a slave in her own father's pack. "I'm not vicious," Don't you dare lie against me. Have you forgotten how I get maltreated, whipped and punished for some crime? And you dare lie against me. Karen defended herself. She had to learn to stand up for herself. She watched as guilt appeared in their faces. If you're making up this to earn my pity, then I must have you know that you are just a pathetic liar like your father. Alpha Kai spat down at her. He didn't believe any of her story. It's a bad luck that I have been given a vicious mate as you by the moon goddess. The word burned through Karen's heart. However, she pleaded with him, crying that she had nothing to do about her father's heinous crime, but he paid deaf ears on her pleas. He dismissed the confidants and called for his beta. Alpha Kai looked down at her with disdain. He couldn't believe he had been attracted to someone as vicious as she was before. He thought her to be as heartless as her father, and he swore to treat her even more worse than a slave. He beckoned on his beta. It was time he showed her the surprise package her father presented to him years ago. And just as he expected, his beta brought in the box, and he ordered for her to open the box, while he smirked. Karen obeyed, as she fumbled with the box, wondering what was inside that he'd had her ordered to open it. As the box went open, Karen's scream pierced through the dungeon, reverberating back in her ears. Her body shivered so badly as her face turned pale white. Please download Novels Ago and search the code in the upper left corner to continue reading.